With Mac OS 8, you can perform many tasks at the same time while continuing to use your computer. With the multitasking finder in Mac OS 8, you can copy files locally or across the network, duplicate folders, and empty the trash while you continue to launch applications, open files, and organize your information. The performance improvements of the new PowerPC optimized finder are focused on ensuring the system is always completely responsive to your activities. Throughout Mac OS 8, Progressive Disclosure lets you know the status of any operation, letting you select the level of information shown, whether an unobtrusive summary or a detailed status. When the contents of an open window take more than a few seconds to display or refresh, background window updating now returns control to you. While the display is being updated, the spinning arrows in the window header show that the operation is in process. Mac OS 8 makes it easier to quickly scan through the contents of a folder. Live window scrolling continuously updates the display of window contents during all scrolling operations. Building on the new unified installer in Mac OS 7.6, a new assistant-like interface makes Mac OS 8 even easier to install. Assistants provide you with information about the task that will be performed and then ask you for just the most basic information required to perform that task. For example, for installation, you simply specify the hard disk you want to install Mac OS 8 on. The popular Clean Install feature is clearly accessible to help you create a completely new system on your computer. All aspects of installation are integrated, including late-breaking information and license information in several languages. You can then specify exactly which elements of Mac OS 8 you need or want installed on your computer. Apple has determined that many system problems are actually a result of software that has been installed on a hard disk that needs to be repaired. To prevent such problems, when you click the Start button, the installer automatically checks the hard disk for problems and automatically updates your Apple hard disk drivers. It then installs all the components of Mac OS 8 that you've selected and restarts the computer only once. That's it. You're up and running with Mac OS 8. The first time you start up a computer with Mac OS 8, either after upgrading or when turning on a new computer for the first time, the Mac OS Setup Assistant automatically launches to help you configure your system. Assistants recognize your configuration, make assumptions on your behalf, ask basic questions, and then perform a given task for you. For example, the Mac OS Setup Assistant starts by telling you what is going to happen. It then prompts you for your name and organization. Of course, it respects any settings you have already configured. You specify the date and time and whether daylight savings time is in effect. You specify your location in the world and your preferences for date and currency formatting. The assistant can help novice users configure their system to be easier to use by enabling the simplified finder. The assistant has recognized that this computer is connected to a network, so it asks you to give the computer a network name and password. The Setup Assistant can set up file sharing for you, so you can easily share information with your colleagues without a complex configuration process. The vast majority of computer users configure their systems with a printer, so the Setup Assistant takes care of this for you. The assistant gives you the opportunity to review your choices and make changes if necessary. Then, based on your answers, the Mac OS Setup Assistant automatically configures the system to your specific needs. Mac OS 8 provides the simplest internet setup and configuration through an assistant that walks you through this usually daunting task. Whether you are connecting to the internet for the first time or connecting to your corporate intranet, the Internet Setup Assistant steps you through the process. If you're working from home and need to get connected to the internet, the Internet Setup Assistant steps you through the process of registering with an Internet Service Provider or ISP. You simply provide your name and phone number and modem information. Via a toll-free call, the Internet Setup Assistant connects you to an online registration server that will provide information on a variety of Internet service providers. Once you make your choice and provide billing information, the assistant automatically configures your computer for the ISP's closest phone number and you're up and running on the Internet. If you already have an ISP or you are connected directly to the Internet or an intranet, the Internet Setup Assistant helps you with all the details of your configuration. To address the broadest set of needs possible, Mac OS 8 provides a scalable interface. This doesn't just mean the Mac OS has been simplified for novice users. Apple has added rich new features for power users too. For novice users, The short menus in the simplified Finder provide just the basic commands they need to get their work done without overwhelming them with commands such as making aliases, setting permissions for file sharing, or erasing their hard disk. Browsing and selecting menus is easier for all users now that menus are sticky, that is, they remain open after a single click. This works even for complicated submenus. With the new View as Button feature, capabilities that were previously available only in the popular Launcher and at Ease software are now available throughout the Finder. You can set any window in the Finder to be viewed as buttons, so you can open documents and launch applications with just one click. With this feature, young or novice users don't have to master the complexities of double-clicking. Even picking colors is much easier with Mac OS 8. You no longer need to be a graphics professional or optical physicist who understands complex color models just to select a background color for your web page. While Apple continues to support picking colors through standard color models such as RGB and CMYK, you now have a considerably simpler interface for choosing colors. With the Crayon Color Picker, you can choose the color you want and see a sample of that color with its name displayed for you. To make image editing even easier, all of the color pickers allow you to use the Option key to turn the cursor arrow into an eyedropper. Then you can click on any color on the screen to set the color picker to that color. This makes it very easy to grab that specific shade of orange you like from your favorite sunset picture. Experienced macOS users will notice that many of the menus have been reorganized into a more logical grouping of commands. Also, new keyboard shortcuts have been added. In addition, Apple has provided new commands that customers have asked for, such as Move to the Trash and Show Original, so you can find the file that an alias points to without opening the Get Info panel. To give advanced users the exact command they need when they need it, direct access to Finder menu items is now available through contextual menus. Contextual menus contain only those menu items that are appropriate for the item currently selected in the Finder, making them the quickest and fastest way to manage your information. For example, you can find an original file by simply control-clicking on its alias and choosing the Show Original command. And when you are done with that alias or any file, the Move to Trash menu item gives you an alternative to dragging it to the trash. Mac OS 8 again sets the industry standard for aesthetics. And of course you have complete control over the visual personality of your computer. You can choose from a variety of accent colors, which are coordinated with a new series of desktop patterns. You also have more flexibility in personalizing your desktop, not only with customizable tiled patterns, but now with the ability to display any picture across the entire desktop background. Window shade is one of the most popular features of the Mac OS. However, it's also one of the best hidden. In Mac OS 8, you can collapse windows by clicking an easy-to-find control in the title bar window. The window collapse control also supports option clicking, which collapses all the open windows in the Finder. Mac OS 8 provides new features for managing and organizing your information more effectively. Now when you drag any icon in the Finder onto any container, the container springs open showing its contents. This allows you to navigate quickly and easily through the entire hierarchy of your system. Continue to drag and hold until you reach the location where you want to file the information. If you change your mind about where you want to file the item, you can just drag outside the window and it will close again, allowing you to continue to another destination. Once the icon is dropped into its destination, all of the folders that were opened during the drag automatically close, leaving only the destination folder open. Spring-loaded folders also work even when you are just opening folders without dragging an icon. By starting with a click and a half on the first folder, you can activate the spring-loaded feature to quickly navigate to your destination. With Mac OS 8, any window in the Finder can be dragged to the bottom of the screen where it becomes a small title bar. When you click on this title bar, the window pops up to display its contents while remaining anchored to the bottom of the screen. If you drag an item out of the window pops back down, getting out of your way. If you drag an item onto the title bar, the window pops up to allow you to drag the item into the window. You can make any Finder window into a pop-up window. Just drag it to the bottom of the screen or use the View menu. To return a pop-up window to normal window behavior, just drag it so that the bottom no longer touches the edge of the screen. Even when all other Finder windows have been closed, pop-up windows remain accessible as titles at the bottom of the screen. As part of the new Platinum appearance of the macOS, it is much easier to quickly see how the items in a window are sorted and to change that sorting by clicking on the buttons at the tops of the columns. In response to customer requests, macOS 8 adds a Date Created field, which displays and retains the date and time when an item was first created. This is in addition to the existing Date Modified, which is updated each time the file is changed and saved. With macOS 8, not only can view options be different for each folder, but their arrangement can also be made persistent. Arrangements replace and significantly enhance the previous cleanup command in the special menu. They give you more options for arranging the icons and provide the option to make their arrangement persistent. That means that whenever items are added or removed, or the window is resized, the items in the window always reorder to maintain the specified icon or button arrangement. Since the desktop can now have its own view settings, even desktop items now can be buttons. The new Platinum appearance clearly indicates inactive windows. This makes it easy to see that the desktop is selected because no windows are currently active. macOS 8 includes a rich set of Internet services to meet a wide variety of customer needs and skill levels. macOS 8 integrates Internet access into the macOS by providing icons that take you to common Internet services. For example, there is a mail icon on the desktop. When you open it, it automatically launches your preferred email software. For customers who may not already be using email, macOS 8 includes Claris Emailer Lite. This solution is ideal for users who are migrating from an online service to the Internet or managing multiple mail accounts. macOS 8 integrates Internet access into the macOS by providing icons that take you to common Internet services. There is an icon for browsing the Internet, which automatically launches your preferred web browser. macOS 8 includes some of the industry's best browsers. With macOS 8, the macOS runtime for Java provides native support for running Java software. macOS users can run Java applets or applications at the desktop, just like any other macOS application, independent of the usual browsing environment. For example, you can use the applet runner to launch Java code at any web address without having to use a browser. And the macOS runtime for Java supports local Java applications, allowing developers to use Java to implement new cross-platform desktop software. You can double-click Java applications in the Finder to launch them like any other macOS application, such as this pre-release example of Corel's Office Suite for Java. macOS 8's Java support allows you to create a Java-enabled active desktop with both network-based and local Java software. With macOS 8, you aren't limited to simply being a client on the net. macOS 8 includes Apple's personal web sharing, which allows you to share information with others cross-platform using TCP/IP networking protocols. Anyone with an Internet web browser can now view and access the contents of your shared folder, no matter which operating system they use. You can save your information in common file formats recognized by web browsers, such as HTML, JPEG, and so on. Drop them into your shared web pages folder and turn on personal web sharing. You simply point personal web sharing at the folder with the information to be shared, then select the default home page. Your computer is now a web server, sharing text, graphics, and multimedia documents with anyone using a web browser on any platform within your intranet or Internet community. macOS 8 also provides pervasive access to the Internet from within any application with its new Connect To command in the Apple menu. Just type in the URL and your preferred browser launches and takes you to the site you specify. In this case, we'll type in the web address of this local computer. Here is the web page the computer is now serving to an intranet, and of course it behaves like any other website. However, personal web sharing goes beyond basic web page services. It also incorporates Personal Net Finder, which allows you to share documents with others simply by dropping them into a folder on your computer. Personal Net Finder creates a Finder-like graphical listing of your shared documents that can be viewed with web browsers running on any platform. You can select any folder on your hard disk, regardless of whether it contains web-formatted information. Instead of selecting a default home page, you select None. Web sharing enables the Net Finder feature. Using any standard web browser, Friends or colleagues on any platform can see the files and folders you've shared using personal web sharing in Mac OS 8. Folders show up as folder icons. And your colleague can copy the files simply by clicking on the link in the browser window. If your colleague clicks on a folder, Personal Net Finder navigates to that folder, displaying its contents. With personal web sharing, Mac OS 8 users can now share information cross-platform over Internet standard protocols. In addition to providing a window to the net, Mac OS 8 uses the hypertext capabilities of your favorite browser to give you access to supplementary help information. The Mac OS Info Center will complement the task-oriented assistance of Apple Guide with local HTML-based reference materials on your hard disk. The Info Center also provides more detailed information about features or technologies you may be curious about. The Info Center connects to live websites for even more detailed information about Apple products and technologies. To ensure that you have the latest information, not just information that was up to date when the CD-ROM was pressed, the Info Center includes links to a live website where the latest Mac OS 8 information is posted. The power of drag and drop has now been extended with new drag indicators. Drag indicators make it much easier to use the common file manipulation commands such as moving, copying, and making aliases. When you drag an item in the Finder to a destination, the arrow cursor changes to reflect the operation to be performed. For example, if you move an item to a different folder on the same disk, the cursor doesn't change to indicate that the item will be moved. If you press the Option key, a plus sign appears to show that the item will be duplicated. This is also the case if you drag the item to a different volume where it would be copied. Finally, if you press the Command and Option keys together, a curved arrow appears on the cursor to indicate that an alias to the item will be created at the destination.